There's a quiet fear a lot of men carry, especially after 50. Not the fear of a big fight, the fear that everything looks fine, while something important is slowly disappearing right beside you. I'm 82. These days, my world is small in the best and worst ways. I wake up early because my body does it for me now, not because I'm disciplined. The light comes in through the same window every morning. The same pale rectangle on the kitchen floor. The same quiet. I still make coffee the way I always have, 2 scoops a pinch of cinnamon, and the slow patience of someone who isn't rushing anywhere anymore. And almost every morning, my hand reaches for a second mug, not because I need it, because my hands remember a life my house no longer holds. I'll set that mug down, pause for a moment, and listen to the soft hum of the refrigerator. Some mornings, that sound feels like nothing. Other mornings, it feels like a whole conversation I didn't have. I used to think I was a good husband, not in a proud way, just in the way a man tells himself he's doing what he's supposed to do. I didn't disappear. I didn't betray her. I didn't make the kind of mistakes people whisper about. I worked. I paid the bills. I kept the car running. I fixed what broke. I showed up to birthdays and graduations. I came home every night. If you had asked me in my 40s, I would have said my marriage was fine, and I would have believed it. That's the part that stays with me, because I wasn't lying. I just didn't know what I didn't know. I met her when I was young enough to think love was something you secured once, like a deed or a contract. She had a quiet way about her. Not shy, just steady. The kind of woman who could make a room feel calmer without saying much. When she laughed, it wasn't loud, but it was full, like her whole face agreed with the moment. We didn't have much back then. A small apartment with thin walls, a couch that sagged in the middle, a kitchen table that wobbled if you leaned on it the wrong way. We used to sit at that table at night and talk until we got tired. Not about big plans, just little things. A dog we might get someday, a trip we might take. The kind of future that felt guaranteed because we were young. Sometimes the radio would be low in the background. Sometimes we'd just sit there, our hands touching, not even thinking about it. Those nights felt ordinary. I didn't understand that ordinary is what you miss most later. Then the years started moving. Kids came. Work got heavier. The calendar filled up the way calendars do, slowly at first, then all at once. She kept the house running like a quiet engine. School lunches, dentist appointments, permission slips, laundry, grocery lists, birthday gifts for other people's kids. The small labor that makes a family feel like it's held together. I did my part in the way I understood it. I stayed reliable. I stayed responsible. I stayed employed. And I told myself I was loving her by not causing problems. I wasn't the kind of man who came home and acted like another child. I wasn't careless. I wasn't cruel. I thought that was the point, and for a long time I thought that was enough. In my 40s, I started working longer hours, not because anyone demanded it, because it felt good to be needed, because I liked being the man people counted on, because I wanted to provide her a better life, and because, if I'm being honest, I liked the way work made me feel competent. I came home later and later. I'd walk through the door, and she'd be at the sink washing dishes. Her hair pulled back the kitchen light, making everything look a little tired. She would turn and smile and say, "Hey," and I would say, "Hey," back. Then I'd sit down and start talking about my day. I'd unload my stress like it belonged to the house. Sometimes she would nod. Sometimes she would ask a question. Sometimes she would just listen. I remember thinking how lucky I was. I had no idea what it cost her to be that quiet. A lot of men confuse "I'm not hurting her" with "I'm loving her." That's the blind spot. You can be loyal, hard-working, and still emotionally absent without realizing it. There's a moment I think about now more than I should. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a crisis. It was a Sunday morning. I was at the table with the paper. She was making pancakes. The kids were older by then, teenagers moving through the house like they were always late for something. She set a plate in front of me. 2 pancakes, butter already melting. She didn't sit down. She started wiping the counter instead, even though it was already clean. I said without looking up, "You're not eating." She said, "I'm not hungry." Her voice was calm, too calm. I still didn't look up. I can remember the sound of the newspaper shifting in my hands. I can remember the smell of coffee. I can remember the sunlight on the floor. And I can remember how easy it was to miss her. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I told myself she was tired, or busy, or just not hungry. The truth is, I didn't ask because I didn't want an answer that would slow my day down. That's how it happened. Not all at once, in small pieces. She stopped asking me to come to bed at the same time. She stopped suggesting walks. She stopped telling me about her coworkers. She stopped bringing up little disappointments. At first, I felt relieved. I thought we were finally past the hard part. I thought we were stable. I thought this was what long marriages looked like. Quiet, predictable, smooth. I didn't understand the difference between peace and distance. I didn't understand that some people stop complaining not because they're happy, but because they've stopped hoping. The most dangerous change in a marriage isn't when someone gets louder. It's when they get quieter, because quiet can look like peace, right up until it becomes a decision. The night I finally noticed the room looked the same as it always did. The television was on, but neither of us was watching it. I was half on my phone, half thinking about work. She was on the couch beside me, knitting something small. Her hands moved steadily like she'd done it 1,000 times. I looked over and said, "You okay?" I didn't mean it as a deep question. I meant it the way people ask when silence feels uncomfortable. She didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "I don't know." 2 words. No anger, no accusation, just honesty. I put the phone down. I said, "What do you mean?" She kept knitting, and she said in a voice I can still hear, "When the house is too quiet. I don't think you've noticed me in a long time." My first instinct was to defend myself. I wanted to list everything I'd done, the bills, the years, the loyalty, the fact that I came home every night. I wanted to prove I was a good man. But something in her tone stopped me. It wasn't cruel. It was tired, like she had already tried, like she had already said it 100 different ways, and the words had finally worn out. After that, I tried to change. I made dinners. I suggested dates. I asked questions. I bought flowers. I told myself I was fixing it, and some of it helped. We had good days, gentle days, days that felt almost like the early years. But even then, there was something careful in the air. Like we were both afraid of breaking what little softness we'd found again. I didn't understand that closeness isn't something you restore in a weekend. It's something you build, the way you build trust, slowly, consistently, without keeping score. And I had been keeping score for decades without even realizing it. I used to think stability meant safety. It didn't. Sometimes stability is just 2 people getting used to being lonely in the same house. Then we got older. The kids grew up and moved out. The house got quieter. Work finally loosened its grip, and her health began to slip. Not dramatically, not like a movie, just small things. More fatigue, more appointments, a little less energy for the things she used to enjoy. I became more present then because I had to be. I drove her places. I sat in waiting rooms. I learned how to cook more than eggs. I folded laundry the way she always did, corners neat. I held her hand more, and people told me I was a good husband. I nodded and said thank you, but inside I felt something heavy, because I knew I was finally showing up the way I should have when she was healthy enough to enjoy it. If you had to describe your marriage in one word right now, what would it be? Not what you hope it is, what it actually feels like on an ordinary Tuesday night. The moment I think of as too late didn't happen at the end. It happened before. It was a morning when she was sitting at the kitchen table, wrapped in a cardigan, looking out the window. The light was soft. The kind of light you only notice when you aren't rushing. I made coffee. I reached for the second mug. She watched me. Then she smiled barely. And she said, almost like she was talking to herself, "You know, I used to wait for you." I froze. I said, "Wait for me." She nodded, still looking out the window. "I used to sit right here and wait for you to come home and see me." There was no bitterness in her voice. That was the hardest part. If she had been angry, I could have argued with it. If she had blamed me, I could have defended myself. But she wasn't blaming. She was remembering. And in that calm memory, I saw my whole life clearly. Not that I was a terrible man, but that I had been a distracted one, a busy one, a proud one, a man who thought love was guaranteed because he had earned it. She's gone now. The house is quieter than I ever imagined it could be. Some mornings, I fold a dish towel just to have something to do with my hands. Some mornings, I stand at the sink a little longer than I need to because the silence feels too sharp. I still think I was a decent man, but I no longer tell myself I was a good husband without pausing, because I finally understand something I didn't understand when I had time. A marriage doesn't fall apart only from betrayal. Sometimes it fades from neglect so gentle you can mistake it for normal. This morning, I made coffee the way I always have. 2 scoops, a little cinnamon. I reached for the second mug, and then I stopped. I held it for a moment, and I put it back in the cabinet, not because I forgot her, because I finally remembered what it meant to notice someone while they're still there. Most men don't lose their marriage in one terrible moment. They lose it by postponing tenderness until there's no time left to spend it.